All right, let's see what's going on here. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Dan. Hello, Gunner. How are you guys? It is a great day here in, where are we today? In Fairhope, Alabama, right down near the Gulf of Mexico. So if you take your finger from Michigan and you go almost straight down to the Gulf of Mexico, there's a little bitty part that Alabama touches. And oh, Marie's here. And Marie and John are going to come visit us in Fairhope, Alabama one day. And we're going to visit them in Sweden one day. Yes, I suspect we might be there sooner than they are here because, anyway, neither here nor there. Um, Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining in. It's going to be an interesting show today. And if you don't do church live streaming, it doesn't matter. That some of the things that we're doing today apply regardless. And live 360 BD, welcome BD, glad to have you. Glad to have you, glad to have you, good to know you. Got just a few minutes here. And Herman's here, welcome Herman. Herman's in our vMix 101 group. Tim is here. Hello, Tim. Tim, congratulations on the gig. Tim and I were talking yesterday about bidding for a gig that he wants to get, and he got it. Good job. Good job. Dan is here. We assume it's Dan with PI Engineering. Could be Maggie. It could be anyway. Anyone. Could be Miranda. You just never know there. But we're glad to have you guys here with us. It's going to be an interesting show today. There was a nice little, about an hour-long show today, a live stream from NAB New York. Our friends Paul and Tess at PTZ Optics put that out. And they had a long visit with Tim at vMix. So you may want to go to, I think if you go to the PTZ Optics Facebook page, not the group page, but the page, and go to their videos, you'll see that it was this morning's video. I think the interview with Tim or the conversation with Tim starts at about the 12th minute, something like that. Might be the 10th minute, something like that. Marie says they're going to fly over us in May next year. Does that count? Only if you have a parachute. And John says, looking forward to both visits. Yeah, Sandy and I are talking about that, how we can get back over there. vMix has already invited me to come back to IBC again with them next year. So I'll be there for sure, and Sandy's planning on coming. So we'll just have to try to get something. I don't know whether it's better to try to get something before IBC or after. We'll have to talk about that. Anyway. If you haven't seen it already, I posted just a quick clip to Facebook. I think I did. Anyway, we'll have to check and see about how I use the XK80 here. And I'm swapping inputs in and out of vMix all the time, but I don't have to redo my shortcuts every time. And so that's there in. I thought it was not supposed to post until 4 o'clock, but Dan thanked me for posting. So maybe it released early. Don't think KLM is going to drop you off. No, probably not. So are you heading east or west? And if you're in the States, you got to drop by. Although being in the States is kind of like being in Europe. It's a big place. Jay Bird is here. Welcome, sir. Japs Productions is here. It's Jacob from Sweden. And maybe we could visit Jacob from Sweden. He's in South Sweden. Yep, would love to do that. We'd love to do that in the summer. Probably not the season that we are approaching. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. We've got just 4 minutes yet. I got clocks all over the place that are telling me, hey, 4 minutes, Tom, 4 minutes. Tim and I had a good conversation yesterday. And sometimes, and we were talking about pricing, and obviously we can't we can't share about pricing, at least here in the U.S., because there are laws against sharing your pricing like that, or colluding on pricing, I guess is really what it is. But sometimes it's better to set the bar high in terms of what you expect in terms of remuneration, because people, at least here in the U.S., people equate value many times with cost. And things that cost a lot, they value a lot. And things that don't cost as much or are free are not valued as much. It's a perception issue, purely. And for people that don't know or don't have a way to judge quality outside of anything else, I mean, they just don't know. You know, they say, I want you to live stream it. Well, you know, what does that mean? Well, we try to explain what it means. We try to educate them what it means. But sometimes the price tells them the quality. So don't be afraid to have a good, healthy price for your services. I encourage you on that one. Oh, Marie's jumping out with a parachute. Well, that's darn good. All right. That'll be, I'll be waiting. I'll be live streaming that one. All right. So, Tim said, you just listed the pieces to the puzzle and let me fill in the numbers. Well, I stole the pieces from Rick. If you guys haven't already, if you're into live streaming a lot, you want to join the webcasters group on Facebook, because Rick has lots of things to share about how to price your services. He and I agree on a lot of things. We sure do. I got a minute, almost 2 left here. Welcome all of you that are watching on Facebook. Let's see if we have anybody watching on Facebook. We are streaming to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on Facebook today, but not the Streaming Idiots page. You'd think, well, why don't you stream to the Streaming Idiots page? Well, we have linked to the Streaming Idiots page, but the problem is that that vMix social can't pick up the comments from groups on Facebook. So if you comment in the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook, we can't see the comments. So what we've done is we've embedded the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page in the Streaming Idiots group. I still don't think we can see the comments, but we're going to give that a try and see how it goes. So if you're commenting, yeah, I see comments. Gunnar commented, hello from Sweden. And Abdul commented, watching from Riyadh. And I don't think those comments got picked up by Facebook. Let's go back and see. Why is that not picking up Facebook comments? Let's check into Facebook again. Find posts. How to stream cheese. We'll try that again on. Still doesn't show comments. How about that? We'll go back there. Eastern Shore Broadcasting. Find posts. Let's take Streaming Idiots live and see what happens on that one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so maybe we'll pick those up now. Yep, we're picking them up now. That was my bad. Jim is here from Sacramento. Welcome. Glad to have you. All right. I think Marie needs her own show. That's what I think. I think, actually, Marie, you need to come on this show as a guest, you and John both. All right. And Gunnar says, you got me. Yes, indeed. We got you on Facebook now, so we're good to go. Right there. Right there. There. That's a Facebook comment. All right. Glad to have you. Let's get the show on the road. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. Well, I say that, and it's always a bomb. So I'm going to say it's a bomb show, because sometimes the bomb shows are even better than the good shows. So, with that, let's do it. What do you say? Let's do it. Here we go. Here is the go. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. I'm saying, wouldn't you know it? Because I had to switch chairs and get all situated in this chair. I know you don't care. You know, it's okay. And watching the chat here from all the folks. Amnon's here, and Dan's here, and Marie's here, and Jan's here, and it's a party. It's an international live streaming party, and you're invited, and we're glad that you're here with us today. Really excited about the topic today, talking about leveraging the power of Facebook for your church, but it really applies to anything. You can leverage the power of Facebook for any business or activity. It can be a nonprofit activity. It can be a community activity, and we're going to talk about how to do that on today's show. But first, going on today, today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2029. Excuse me, goodness. Got to get some lemonade. Hold on. Okay, we're ready now. Wednesday, October 16th, 2019. Today is the opening day of NAB New York. That is the little teeny show called NAB New York. They're in one hall, I think the N hall at NAB New York. And some of our friends are there. PTZ Optics is there in booth 800, Bird Dog in booth 129, Magewell in 354. U.S. Broadcast is the one that has this. They're wholesalers, so you can't buy from them directly. But they're one of our suppliers, and they have something called the Switchblade, which is kind of like a lunchbox PC with vMix baked in. They're in booth 750. You probably ought to go by and see that. And then VizRT, which I think will include New Tech, is at booth 329. And again, vMix is at booth 644. Paul and Tess from PTZ Optics did a live stream from NAB New York this morning. It was live streamed to Facebook, I know, on the PTZ Optics page, not the group, but the page. And I think they said it also went to YouTube, but I know you can find it on Facebook on the PTZ Optics page. And they had a very interesting, I won't call it an interview, but sort of a conversation with Tim at vMix. And they were talking about vMix 23, which, of course, you know, we're waiting for the public beta. Martin, we're waiting for the public beta on vMix 23. SRT, Secure Reliable Transport Tests. You're going to be tested on all this later, so you got to pay attention to these things. Secure Reliable Transport is really going to be great. We'll talk more about that when it comes out. vMix has added 5 new audio buses, audio channels, so that brings 7. 7. Why 7? If somebody knows why 7, that would be a good one. Why 7 would be a good one. So they got 2. They've added 5 more. You know, on my fingers they've got room for 3 more. So we'll see. But and Tim was funny. Tim is one. Tim's going to be here next week in the flesh. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. He's heading out of New York, and he's coming due south and then a little bit west. And that if you leave PI Engineering and come due south, you get here. But if you leave New York and come, New York would be over here, and come south and then some west, you would get to Fairhope, Alabama, the home of Eastern Shore Broadcasting, the producers of Streaming Idiots. That's right. So anyway, Tim was talking with Tess and Paul this morning, and he said, yeah, you know, Martin sent me this, I guess it's still an alpha version of vMix 23, or if it's a beta, it's not a public beta. If it is, it wasn't 20 minutes ago. Anyway, he said Martin sent this to me and said he was working on something, and Tim mentioned the G word. Can you guess what the G word would be of something Martin is working on in vMix 23. The G word, Martin working on it in vMix 23. Secure, reliable transport, and 5 new audio buses. I'll give you a chance to guess, and we'll see the guesses. Hey, David, glad you're here. We'll see the guesses. Rich is here too. Jamie's here too. Hey, welcome, guys. Want to see what the guesses are in the chat of a feature that Martin is adding. You know, it didn't sound like it was completely added yet, but like he was trying to add it and he was trying to get it in. And it was in vMix 23, which include, I'm giving you all these hints, which includes secure, reliable transport, SRT. Remember, there's not a G in SRT. And 5 new audio buses. There's not a G in that. But between those features and perhaps a new feature, Martin was adding something that started with the letter G. What else can we think of that starts with the letter G? Dan, Marie, maybe goat starts with the letter G, but that couldn't be a feature. That's more of a description. Today we're talking about Facebook, and Facebook, something that starts with the letter G is groups. Could he be adding Facebook groups to the to vMix 23? Facebook groups? That's really up to Facebook more than it is to vMix. Marie says he's adding a goat cam. Well, that's a great idea. That's not what Tim said, but it's a great idea. Rich says G, like graphics editor. Well, I think we've already done that one. We've got the GT title designer. That's kind of a graphics editor, don't you think? Well, maybe not quite the way Rich means it, but there you go. Oh, Gunnar has a good idea. It's a GT update. You know, frankly, I think Martin is updating GT all the time because he enjoys playing with it. Dan says it's a goat cam. It's a goat cam. It's speed bowl. It's golden bowling balls, says Marie. By the way, if you're in our area while Tim's here, we're going to have a little meetup. Send me a Facebook message or an email if you want details on that. We're not sure when and where, so we're missing some details. But we're going to have a little vMix Streaming Idiots meetup somewhere here on the eastern shore of Alabama. John says it's Instagram with a capital G. Again, I think that's up to Instagram to determine what the G will be. We could wait and let Tim talk about it next year. Gunnar says that GT comes in version 2.0. Otis says G acceleration. Now you guys are getting into it. Dan says a glitter bomb. Well, now that would be something I would expect to come from PI Engineering. From something that Miranda and Maggie would be working on in the back room, filling all the X keys with glitter. And when you hit a certain button on the bar, glitter. There you go. All right. Well, good guesses. Good guesses. But you guys are going far afield. For those of you that are audio people, think about audio just a second. What is one of the things we do on audio mixers, on soundboards? We take our individual inputs or channels, and David says green screen. We already have green screen. In fact, that's a green screen right there. Can I show you the green screen? Sure. Let's show you the green screen. There's the green screen. Yep. Can't really see it very well, but that's the green screen. Okay. So we'll come back here. So yeah. So the idea is, Jamie says G-Sync. No. Good guess though. The idea is that vMix has got 2 existing and 5 new. The Green Bay Packers. No. Not doing the Green Bay Packers. Has got 2 existing audio channels and 5 new audio channels. And wouldn't it be great if you could sort of put them together into units of ones that would kind of work together with each other? Something that we would call in the audio world groups. Yes, Tim said the G word this morning. So let's keep an eye out and see if vMix 23 includes the ability for now our 7 audio channels or audio buses to be grouped together in ways. Jacob says, audio group starts with an A. And Otis wants a group bus. Okay. Yeah, there we go. It's a group bus. That's right. Not like a school bus, but like an audio bus. There you go. So yes, audio buses, groups, we'll have to see if it's multiple groups or just one group. You know, with new features, a lot of times features start, you got to start at the starting. You got to start at the start. You can't start in the middle. Jaybird said that submixes. Good. Can't get anything by you, can we? So maybe groups is something else. Groups. Well, let's let this one lie for just a second and see where it goes. Had a Dan had an interesting false alarm this morning. I was getting ready to do the live stream, and generally I'll go ahead and start the streams early so that I can check them out, and then I'll release them. So in Facebook, that means that I can start the stream. I've already scheduled it, which I'm going to show you about in just a minute, and I can start the stream, and then I can check it out, make sure everything's good, and then I can let it go live. And of course, the live pre-show is basically just a countdown timer with a ticker that runs across. You've seen that, and that's in Facebook. In YouTube, it's a preview and then a live stream, both of them are kind of a multi-step process. And so I was multi-stepping through Facebook, and I looked up and it said, hey, I was streaming at 720p, and it said that somewhere it said there that I could do 1080. And I said, we've been waiting for that for a while, and a couple of people have been able to do it. It's kind of been released here and there. But can I do 1080? So I stopped the stream. Remember, I hadn't started it out where anybody could see it yet. So I stopped the stream, and I went back and changed my stream settings to be 1080p for YouTube, for Facebook, and 4.5 megabits per second for the the Facebook comments just tickle me. 4.5, again, and I have to stop looking at them because I'll be distracted the whole show. So 4.5 megabits per second is what I was streaming to YouTube, so I streamed the same thing to Facebook, and I got all excited, and then I found out, of course, no, it'll accept a 1080 stream. It won't do anything with it. It just, I guess, re-encodes it down to 720, and then, of course, it'll do 720 and 480 and all the other options that YouTube has. So if you're watching on your mobile device, it should automatically adjust. And in fact, it should be adjusting based on your bandwidth. But you can also dumb it down to a lower resolution if you want to save some bandwidth if you're out on your data plan or something like that. Okay. All right. Well, enough of this idle chit chat. But remember, vMix is in booth 644 at NAB New York right now. And Tim from vMix, when he gets through cleaning up the booth tomorrow, is going to be hitchhiking his way down to Fairhope, Alabama. So if you see him on the side of the road heading south in a big vMix t-shirt, be sure and pick him up and take him at least to the next exit. All right, so let's talk about. Let's don't talk about that. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact that video didn't automatically restart itself. Oh, golly. Hold on a second. Bear with me. Don't go anywhere. I hate when this happens. I really do. Automatically restart with transition. Yes. That was the name of the feature. It's not a new feature. It's been in forever. And so you'd think I would have figured out how to use it by now. Anyway, okay, so let's gear up and let's talk about how to leverage Facebook for use with churches. Now, this will work with any organization, any business, but I wanted to focus in on churches because I think churches can really get a big bang for the buck. And hey, I'm not into all the politics of whether Facebook is stealing information or gathering information or using information or picking sides in politics or whatever. I'm just talking about the fact that my mother, my 86-year-old mother, has a Facebook account. And she follows what's going on with me and her grandchildren, my children, my great-grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, through Facebook. So Facebook is a tremendous way to link people together. I mean, a guy asked to be my friend yesterday that I haven't seen in years, but I'm delighted that he asked to be my friend because now we can stay in touch with each other. So Facebook is a really useful tool. We'll lay aside all the control issues about that. And we'll say that a lot of people are on Facebook and we can leverage that because Facebook will let us leverage that. So let me tell you a little bit about the leverage. Well, let's just walk through. Shall we walk through? Let's walk through. All right. So I put together this video and this is me setting up the live stream for Streaming Idiots today. And the first thing I want to do is go up to the URL bar and I want to go directly to the ability to set up a live stream. So it's facebook.com/live/create. And this will work for any group or any page or even your own personal page. And this is what it pops up. And then right in the middle, we want to create a live stream. Now, the first thing when we get this page is we want to select what are we going to stream to. So over here in the top right-hand corner, we can stream to a page. We can stream to a group. There are all sorts of choices there. Here, we're going to pick a page. We're going to pick a group. And then we're going to pick the Streaming Idiots group. So we could do that. And it's going to bring up all the information. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Let's go back. We're going to go to Eastern Shore Broadcasting. Let's do that to that page. So over on the left-hand side at the top, you see the Connect button. And then to the left of that, the Camera button. If the Camera button's illuminated, press the Connect button. And then down here, you want to make sure that you have selected a secure connection. You want to make sure you've selected a persistent stream key. And then you've got the stream ID or the stream URL and the stream key or the stream name. Now, I've blocked out mine so you can't stream to my page, but you can copy those and you can put those into your vMix, which we'll show in just a second. You also want to put a title and a description, and you can go back and edit those later if you don't like them. So here I am copying the URL. And then we're going to make sure that we've got a persistent stream key. That way I don't have to change my stream key in vMix every time I live stream. I can stream to the same key every time. But I'm setting this up every time also. So I'm copying my key there. And whoops, I didn't do a very good job of covering that up, did I? So we'll have to go back and edit that out. Anyway, so I'm going to schedule it. And so to schedule it, I'm going to put in the date. That happens to be today's date. I am going to put in the time, which for me is going to be 1:50 p.m. That's 10 minutes to 2 Central Time, 10 minutes to 3 Eastern Time. So that's when the stream will start itself. Now I could put in an image. I'm going to select the image from last week's show. And that's just going to pop into the image block right there. But I have to save that in order for it to be there. I forget to save them all the time. And in fact, at this point, I'm not saving it because it's not the right one for this. But I have now scheduled this live stream, and it's out there. In fact, that's the one that we're streaming with today, although I did go in and edit it a little bit. Now, in fact, here's how I edited it. So I've gone to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page, and I'm going to scroll down and find the post. This scheduling of a live stream ends up being a post. So I'm going to find the post. There's last week's. That's last week's. And actually, last week is sort of set as a announcement or no, I've pinned it to the top of the page. That's what I did. So let's unpin that one and get it out of the way. And then we'll go through. It is a little bit of a tedious process. It takes a few minutes to set it up. So here's my post from today, just now. And I'm going to pin this to the top of the page. So anybody that comes to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on Facebook will see this post first. So there it is. Now I can go in and I can share it. I can comment on it. And I can like it. I'm going to go ahead and share it because I want it to get a little bit of, wide sharing going on right now. So if I share it, I could share it to groups or pages. In this case, I'm going to go in and edit what we just set up. So I can go in and I can make an edit. I could start it right now if I wanted to. See the cursor in the bottom right-hand button right there, bottom right-hand corner. I could start it. I'm not going to because, this is a pre-recorded video. So I'm just going to get out of this page and I'll go ahead and save it. Now I'm back in the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Facebook page. And Mark sent me a little note, so you can read Mark's note there. Sorry about Mark. But I've started vMix now, and so let's go into vMix and get the streamer set up so that it will stream to this page on Facebook. So I need to add an input so there's something there to stream. I'm just going to grab the first thing I see. That just happens to be a picture of Paul Richards of PTZ Optics. Don't know how that got there, but anyway, let's go into stream settings. And you can see I've got the stream key blanked out, but the stream key that's blanked out and the stream URL above it are the same that are right here right there. Those are the two same ones. And if they're not, I want to copy it and update it. And then I'll go back to vMix and say, do I have the right one in there? I just look at the last 4 or 5 letters or digits of the stream key. I don't worry about, checking the whole thing letter by letter. But if I've got the last few letters, that's right. And sometimes, when you cut and paste, you may not get all the letters. So I check the first few and the last few and make sure I've gotten them all with no spaces. And now I'm ready to stream. So I can stream now if I want to. In fact, let's go ahead and stream now because you can watch the Facebook page become populated by the stream out of my vMix. So let's close that and get that out of the way. And this is what you saw me streaming in vMix. Yep, right there. That's the output from vMix. And it's now coming in. You can see the 1920 by 1080. That's what threw me off earlier, right down there as video resolution. 30 frames a second. Not a very high bit rate because it doesn't take a lot of bit rate to stream a picture. But I have the ability to stream more if needed. Now I can send this live. I can do a manual start on it, but I won't. And that would be down in the bottom right-hand corner. I can still come back in and edit some of that. And in this case, I'm just going to get off of this page. Again, I haven't started my live stream. It would start automatically at 1:50 because we schedule it to. But I can start. Sometimes I'll start it earlier just because I want to get it started earlier. So that is the story on how to set up Facebook for a scheduled live stream. Works for your church, works for your organization. In this case, we set it up to a page. Now, once it's scheduled, Facebook will send a notification to all the people that have notifications turned on. We'll send a notification to everyone that likes my Eastern Shore Broadcasting page and tells them, hey, Tom has set up a live stream for Eastern Shore Broadcasting at 1:50 p.m. Central Time, 2:50, 10 till 3 today. So Facebook is notifying everybody right then. And I say, oh, when I get these notifications, like, oh, okay, 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm free. I'm going to try to tune into that. And then, of course, at 3 o'clock this afternoon or 2 minutes till, Facebook will send me another reminder. Hey, remember, you want to watch this thing. Okay, so Facebook has sent me 2 reminders to watch. That's pretty cool. I didn't do anything except schedule my Facebook stream in advance. And if you have multiple pages, multiple groups, that increases your effectiveness. But here's the real zinger for churches. Here's the zinger for churches. All that stuff scheduled in advance, no problem. But for people that are at church, waiting for the service to start, checking their Facebook, or getting in the right frame of mind to worship or listen to a message. One of the things, and it won't take long, but what you can do is you can go to Facebook on your phone and you can check in. And it's right there in the comments at the very top, right there in the comments at the very top. If you click in the comments, it drops down all the things. You can upload a video, you can upload a picture, you can check in. If you click check in and you have your locations on in your phone or your tablet or wherever you are, it will look around for the closest things that you can check in on. Should be the church, if the church has recognition in the world like that. And so you can click the church that you're checking in. You can even add a comment if you want to. Hey, expecting a great service today, or we have a guest preacher, or don't the flowers look pretty, or whatever it is that is going to be something that you want to share with your friends on Facebook. So you're checking in. You might write a comment, you might not, and you're going to let that go live as a comment in Facebook. Will now appear on probably not all, but a lot of your friends' live feed. And it'll pop up and it says, Tom Sinclair is in church. At my church is Grace Anglican Church in Fairhope, Alabama. Tom Sinclair just checked in to Grace Anglican Church in Fairhope, Alabama. What kind of church would have him? A lot of my friends are probably asking, especially some of my old fraternity brothers from college. They're thinking, that guy goes to church? Here's the clincher now. I got to see what kind of church he goes to. So all they have to do is click on the church's name right there, because it's a hot link to the church's Facebook page. So they click on the link. Notice we're not even talking about live video, right? We're just talking about Tom Sinclair in church. He says, check in at the church. My friend sees where I go to church, thinks, what kind of church would have him? So they click the link to see the church. Right? Nobody will ever know they did that unless they're looking over their shoulder. So he clicks the link. My friend clicks the link, takes a look, and said, oh, that's a Facebook page. Looks kind of like a church. Scrolls down a little bit, sees some of the posts that somebody at the church posts a poster or a meme every day that has an uplifting comment or a spiritual comment of some kind. So they might go through and see the one from Saturday or the one from Friday that might be meaningful to them. But they'll also see that Grace Anglican Church is streaming live right now. Oh, all of us have a little bit of a voyeur in us. We'd really like to know what goes on behind those doors at that strange church just north of McDonald's in Fairhope, Alabama. So if you're in Fairhope, Alabama, you can find my church because we're just north of McDonald's. So he clicks the live stream. And it takes, of course, a second for the live stream to load. And now he's looking into the church live right now. Well, the way the church was 23 seconds ago. I think that's the latency that we've got on this broadcast today is 22, 23 seconds. So it's probably the same on a Sunday morning. And lo and behold, he's now a viewer. And hey, Frank, glad you're here. We're talking about church live streaming. And if, depending on when he pops in, it may be during the music and praise portion of the service, and there may be a portion of that just really appeals to him. It might be in the portion where the scripture's read, and there might be a scripture that really zings him, that really catches his attention. It might be in the message. It might be in the sermon portion where he says, this is not, I got a few minutes. I'll just listen to this. Nobody will ever know. And the rest is up to God at that point. But that's how you get people to watch your live stream that you're probably too embarrassed or whatever to say, hey, you want to watch my church's live stream? Well, send one of my old fraternity brothers a note, say, Sunday morning, why don't you watch our live stream? Yeah, right. But if I kind of unintentionally, well, I'm not being deceptive. I'm just saying I'm at church. I just want you to know I'm at church. And it's your curiosity that says, what kind of church would Tom go to? What kind of church would have him? Who was it that said, I wouldn't want to be a part of a club that would have me as a member? Somebody in the chat room knows that. That's a famous quote here from an American comedian. I'm not sure if it's Groucho Marx or what's the guy with the big cigar. Anyway, somebody will help me out with that one. Anyway, so that's it really simply. You got a live stream going. You've scheduled it in advance so that people can find it. And we'll circle back to that one in just a second. And then since you've got a live stream going, when you show up at church, you check in. Now, it's also, here's the other part of this. One of my buddies, Scott Whitney, is out in Las Vegas. He's the one that hosted the Streaming Idiots meetup for the first couple of years. And Scott, being a Las Vegasite, or a Las Vegan, whatever, he would talk about the play. Well, the play is a gambling term, but the play here, we'll use that gambling term. The play here is that the pastor or the priest or somebody, or maybe it's just written down in the handout that I think they call them the church bulletin that people give you at the door. Somewhere it's communicated, hey, while you're here, check in on Facebook and let your friends know that you're at church. It's kind of a subtle, nobody's going to, very few people. Groucho Marx, it was Groucho. Thank you, Martin. Martin got it. The Groucho Marx, the Groucho Club in London. Oh, I love it. Okay. If you're not in the chat, you got to get in the chat. You either go to Facebook.com/ it's the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on Facebook, or go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and click the Watch Live tab, and you'll get in on this conversation. So somebody is standing up, or it's written in the bulletin to say, hey, while you're here, don't forget to check, before the service starts, not during the sermon, check in and let all your friends know you're here in church. And this is me talking now. It's a great low-key, low-pressure way to let your friends know where you worship and what's important to you. And if they don't pay any attention to it, no problem. They're not going to be offended because you check in at church and it just happens to appear on Facebook. Nobody is. If somebody gets offended with that, they are looking to be offended. But in the real world, nobody's going to get offended with that. They're going to raise their eyebrow, depending on who it is, raised eyebrow, and they're going to say, I want to see what kind of church will let Tom Sinclair in the door. That's what I want to see. And they'll go to the church's page on Facebook, and they'll see there's a live stream, and they'll say, because we're all a little bit of a voyeur, they'll say, I'd really like to see what's going on there. They'll pop in. They may watch for 3 seconds. They may watch for 10 seconds. They may watch the whole thing. It doesn't matter. But they've made that point of contact, and you never know what's going to happen out after that. So that'll work for anything. It'll work for civic organizations. It'll work for your business. Heck, I could even do it here. Haven't thought about that. I don't think I've ever checked in here for this live stream. I should do that. I'll do that in the post show. It's a little late now, but I'll do it in the post show. So the combination of scheduling a live stream, and then we're talking just about Facebook today, scheduling a live stream on Facebook, and then doing a check-in and my church is a little church. I think we've got, 75 folks that are members, and then maybe 45 of them show up on Sunday. And then, Christmas and Easter, all the rest of them show up. But, not the same 45 every Sunday. Somebody's traveling, or somebody's sick, or somebody has a sick child. All that kind of stuff. And that's why Amnon says, does it only take churches or synagogues work too? Yeah, I think it'll work for synagogues, Amnon. But I use church in the generic sense. Perhaps I shouldn't, but I do. So you'll just have to tolerate me for that. We live stream because people are at home with their sick kid, because people are traveling, because people are sick themselves, but they don't want to miss out. And it's a great way for a church to provide an extra service to the body that's not physically present. Al Bunt is going to come on this show soon. Al, soon, right? And talk about the tremendous ministry that he does at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Did I get that right? I think I did. I know the Wisconsin part's right. Anyway, and their live streaming community is equal, plus or minus, to their on-site community. Al's done a great job of making the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church available to the internet, and we'll have him come on. He's been doing it for years and years and years, and we'll probably have to have him come on more than once to talk about it, because he's put in a new live streaming system, one of our systems, and using vMix and loving it. All right, so back to Facebook. 1-2 punch. Schedule your live streams so that they're out there, and then get everybody at the church that will to do a check-in, and then remind them periodically. Every Sunday you've got an opportunity to do the check-in, and it's a great way to very low-key, low-threatening, low-risk get the word out that, hey, I'm in church. And you got to see, you know me, you want to know what kind of church should have me. And maybe there's something there for you, or maybe you're coming to my town to visit, or maybe you're moving to my town, and you have an opportunity to kind of check out churches without having to go through all the roles of actually walking in the door. All right, well, I think I beat that dead horse to death, but one more review. No, I'm just teasing. I think it'll work. And I think it'll work for all sorts of industries, not just churches and synagogues and other places of worship. So that's it. And none of those ideas are original to me. I would tell you I would tell you from whence those ideas came, but I don't remember. Somebody shared with me on the scheduling. Somebody shared with me on the check-ins. And I don't remember either one of them, so I apologize. If it's you, send me a note. I'll make sure that I give you a toot-toot the next time. Do we have a ta-da? There we go. We got our ta-da. We got our ta-das back. And so we put our ta-das back on the keyboard. And so we can do the drum roll. And we can do a drum roll with a ta-da, but I have to time it right. There you go. It's all about timing. It's all about the timing. Okay, so there you go. That's the story today. We're going to close up this section. That we're going to close up the live stream now and move into the post show. So if you've got questions about this process, or if you're doing this or something similar, I'd love to have you share them with me and with the whole group. Now, in order to now you're saying, okay, Tom, where do I go to see this? Well, you have to be watching live to see this, number one. But secondly, you want to go, probably the easiest thing is to go to streamingidiots.com, which will take you to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page. Streamingidiots.com, Eastern Shore Broadcasting page. Click Watch Live, and that will bring up the YouTube feed that we've embedded in our website. And then below that, it brings up the YouTube comment section, the live chat, not the long-term comments, but the live chat that we've embedded in our website. And you can pop out either or both of those and put them on different monitors, or put one on your big screen and the other one on your iPad so that you can read the comments. And so I can read the comments right here. So we would glad to have you. Rich said would be a great case study for anyone else interested for church streaming. Yeah, it would. It would. And obviously people that like statistics could track, how many views you get, what the length of the views are, all that kind of thing. But really it's just about catching that one soul that needs to be caught that day to hear a word that builds him or her up, or lifts them up, or helps them get through, whatever their trial or tribulation for the day is. That's what we want to do. Okay, so we're going to close out the show here, and we'll be back in just a minute with the post show. Stay tuned. And that's not the post show. Well, maybe we won't be back with the post show. I was redoing my X keys earlier, and I think I must have, gee whiz, I lost the post show. No, I didn't lose the post show. I lost the credits. All right, so hang on a second here. Let's go to, is that number 6? We'll take number 6. We will walk across, and we will get, you cannot close out a show without the Martin K. Jaws of Death that open and close the show. So hang on a second. We will get those right here, the good old-fashioned way. And we'll change microphones. And don't know what happened to them, but we'll find them. And doggone if we can't, closing, there it is. Let's try this one. That's almost it. You never know what's going to happen on this show. And we're out. Well, there we go. How about that? Is that going to work? Nope. Okay. Goodness gracious. The red in Tom's camera just got intensified. Well, that's because I'm embarrassed. Oh my goodness. Jamie says I don't see the check-in. Okay, well let's take a look here. I got my phone. Here's my phone. And I'm going to go to Facebook. And it's going to ask me, whoops. No. I want to go to Facebook. Facebook. There we go. Facebook. What's on your mind? So I'm going to click What's on my mind. And then it's going to say, what's on your mind? Photos, tag people, feelings, or activity sticker, and then check in. So I'm going to check in, and it's going to bring up, well, there it is, Grace Anglican Church, Fairhope, Alabama. Where is it? Okay. In this case, I don't have my locations on, so it's not really giving anything local. Oh, it allows me to turn on locations. So let's turn on locations, allow, and no, we're not going to use Google location services. So let's go back out of this. Let's try check in again and see if it kind of refreshes on location services. No. Oh, well. Anyway, so, but that's how you do it. It'll work for you. It's one of these smarty phones. That's right. That's right. So, Jamie, it's there somewhere. I trust you can find it. Gunnar says the automation toolkit for vMix could do that automatic, and that is on my list of things to learn how to do. Yes. John thinks I still think you should double up on your keyboard and mouse so you can sit in both chairs. I do. I sit in both chairs, but I just have X keys out there. Plus, I can't see the vMix desktop. I guess I could, but I don't. And Marie says, it is called Streaming Idiots for a reason. There you go. And Dan says it's F-U-N with the F-U capitalized. Is that a message for me, Dan? Frank says we've been sharing the live stream, the church live stream to the local community Facebook page. And it's been now 2 years we've been getting visitors every week. And my pastor in the church started paying me. Wow. You're probably live streaming at the church. There you go. Dan says, Tom, did you get my note about the guy in Cambodia trying to buy a replay unit? Yes, Dan. I've been out of town. I just got back last night, but I will square him away shortly. Rich says, are there any copyright issues with church streaming? Yeah. You know, copyrights in churches go way, way, way back. I mean, you think of any music that is played or sung or performed in a church, it's probably copyrighted. And the actual physical piece of paper is copyrighted. And then the playing, or let me put it, it's not copyright issues, it's licensing issues. And so you have to have license to be able to reproduce, all the written music, and then a license to reproduce the lyrics. And then if you are going to perform that live in the church, you have to have a license for that. And then if you're streaming it, I think you have to have a license to perform it on a live stream. And if you're posting the lyrics as part of that, you have to have a license for that. CCLI is the church licensing headquarters. CCLI, don't remember what that is. Something Church Licensing International, maybe. And then there's a secular one, for like nightclubs and bars and other people that want to do live streaming of music that's not necessarily church music. That one, ASCAP, A-S-C-A-P, ASCAP. And so you have to get licenses for those. Now, having the license doesn't mean that you don't get copyright strikes against you on YouTube or Facebook or other places for that matter. I get copyright strikes every week on my church's on my church's page because from YouTube, and simply because YouTube doesn't do it. It's somebody out there that thinks they have a license to some music that we have played. And so puts a strike against us, a claim against us. We need to do a show on that because it can be a little confusing. YouTube says to me, hey, somebody's put a claim on that, but don't worry, we're not going to do anything to your live stream. You just won't be able to monetize it because they have a claim against it, but you can dispute the claim. And sometimes just for fun, I'll dispute it and then watch the people, kind of fade away when they realize, they really don't have a claim against it. Or I'll say that we have a license for that, and here's the license number and where the license is held, and then the claim will be released. Facebook takes a different tact, and typically they will block live audio if it meets certain criteria that their logarithms have determined is copying somebody else. So it's more difficult to work with Facebook because but for live broadcast, Facebook typically doesn't have the issue. It's when you're playing something that's pre-recorded, that somebody has the rights to that pre-recorded version of it, that Facebook will block it right then and there. That happened to me last year when I was somebody volunteered me to live stream the Christmas pageant at a local school. And it's a school that two of my sons had gone to, and we dutifully attended the Christmas pageant, and that was years ago. And so I come back to live stream the Christmas pageant, and it's the same pageant with the same songs. And they're all songs that, somebody's copied off of Facebook or YouTube, or downloaded an MP3 for it or something like that. And sure enough, when we went to go live with that stuff, Facebook just blocked the audio. And then when it sensed that copyrighted or licensed version of that song was over, it would open the audio back up again. So, when there were kids up there lip syncing something, there was, I guess there was some original singing, but the kids weren't well mic'd, so you couldn't really hear it. So they were up there essentially lip syncing, and so they were lip syncing in silence. It was pretty interesting. Not exactly what we wanted to have happen, but so yes, Rich, there are some copyright issues. Sorry, with church streaming and live streaming in general. I mean, football. It happens in sports all the time when people are live streaming a football game, and there might be, or baseball for that matter, probably soccer too, basketball too, when there's a break in the action and the PA system, the announcing system there in the venues, just starts playing some music to sort of fill in something, and it's something that they've stolen off the radio or off the internet somewhere, and you can get dinged for that. Dan said it was just just a typo, Tom, nothing personal. Thank you, Dan. I knew that was the case, but I couldn't help get a dig on it. Otis says, my pastor doesn't want the whole service streamed. He only wants the sermon. He wants the sermon only. However, most members who watched requested more of the service, prayer, music, choir, and sermon, etc. Otis, that's a great point. My pastor, who of course is preaching the sermon, was only interested in having the sermon live streamed too. And I sort of convinced him that he really that people needed to be eased into the sermon. So if we had music and worship at the beginning, and then we have, in our tradition, it's music and worship with an opening prayer, and then scripture, and then on to the sermon. And so I said, well, let's do that part, and then after the sermon, we typically move into what we call the prayers of the people, which can be kind of personal. In some, people are raising their hands and say, I want you to pray for my this, that, or the other, and that's not really appropriate for public consumption. So we have a little poster that pops up at this point and says, we're entering our live streaming now because we're moving into a personal part of the service that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate to live stream. And I'm sure the people that watch understand that, and they probably understand how that works. And for a period of time, we did go in later and strip out and do an edit of just the sermon and post that also. But we realized, people can fast forward through the parts they don't want. People know how to use a VCR type device. So I agree with you, Otis. I think it's good to have more than just the sermon, because it gives people a flavor of what your church is like. If the only thing you do in church is a sermon, then obviously, yeah, that's a good, accurate flavor. But that's rarely the case. Generally, there's something else involved, and it's good to show that so that people can have a taste, especially outsiders. They can have a taste of what it is. John said, I think churches are way ahead of the rest of us when it comes to music and IP rights. Well, churches have been doing it a long time. You think, when I was in Amsterdam, There were churches there that were built in, 1600s. And, a lot of the hymns of the church were written in the 1600s, 1700s. Amnon says, I wonder if you have to go to Bethlehem to ask for a license. Well, with the internet, Amnon, you can do that just about wherever you are. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be Bethlehem. And Conan Patrick is here from Belgium. Welcome. Glad to have you. If you're watching on Facebook, well, you're seeing the chat right over here. That's a Facebook chat. That one's coming from YouTube. Most of them for YouTube. Yeah, we got off on the copyright thing, and I like that Frank says we've been sharing our church live stream to our local community Facebook page. That's cool. And another Frank is here. Hello, Frank. Frank Broughton here. Glad to have you. I have some feelings on that, Frank, and let me believe it or not, and let me share those feelings with you. I prefer to be invited to stream that type of stuff. I prefer somebody says, "Oh, Tom, would you stream it here or would you share it here?" Yes, thank you for inviting me. Second is if I want to be someplace, I want to ask, would it be all right if we did this? Because the last thing I want to do, especially with the church, is to be aggressive or a bully or seen as not caring about other people's feelings, because that's not the case, and that's not how churches work. Churches are very sensitive to other people's feelings, or they should be. And so if we are going to go to a place that's not our own page, we're going to have permission in advance, or we're going to be invited in advance. But it may be in your community that every church puts their live stream on the community's Facebook page. If that's the case, absolutely. But I would prefer to be invited. Emmanuel James Shalom says, what I do is to have two streams. I think he's asking English as a second language. What do you have to do to do two streams? Emmanuel, there are some great videos on the vMix YouTube page. If you go to YouTube and search up vMix, you can find all sorts of helpful tutorials there. Tim from vMix made most of them, and yes, that's right, Tim is going to be here next week. And we might even get him to do a tutorial while he's here. Ha, ha, ha. John says, changing track a bit, had one of our young talented producers help out with the stream this weekend. His first time with the vMix and X Keys replay controller. I think he's still smiling. Yes. And it's going to get better and better and better. Better and better and better. I see Emmanuel is saying one is having the full stream while the other is the pastor's sermon only. Well, there you go. He was answering, he was talking about what Otis was talking about. I apologize. Yeah, he wasn't asking. He was replying from the comment. Yeah, there you go. You could certainly do that. The X Keys replay controller is great and is getting great reviews. It was the right tool for the right stuff at the right time. And John said he used to broadcast and using ATEM gear. That would be Black Magic. That's cool. Frank says we stream just the preaching to Facebook Live and YouTube. We stream our entire service to Sunday streams. Well, that's interesting. That's what Emmanuel's talking about, to do multiple streams. That's good. Frank says, good point, Tom. Even at our home church, we need to be careful with live streaming with missionary speaking. Yes, that's a very good point. And we've had 3 Sundays in the last 2 years where we've had missionaries in, and either the missionary or the pastor has requested that we did not do live stream, and so we did a for folks that were expecting something. We put up a rerun, a replay of something that the church had previously live streamed. In fact, I was out of town this past weekend, and I had rented the equipment. Eastern Shore Broadcasting had rented the equipment that I generally use for live streaming at the church. So I wasn't there, and I couldn't let my backup be there to live stream. So we used, we used this production PC here in the studio to live stream on Sunday morning a sermon from 2016. It was the second sermon that we'd ever live streamed, called How to Hear from God. Really good sermon. And it included the worship. If you're interested in that, you can find it at the Grace Anglican Church Facebook page. And that was a good message. And we used Eric Pratt's, what's it called? HTTP Matrix app to schedule it, to turn it on, and to switch things within vMix, and then to stop the vMix stream later on. That worked really well. Thank you, Eric, for that. Eric is at NAB this week, and he is at the U.S. broadcast booth at N750. So if you're there at NAB, go by and see Eric and ask him about HTTP Matrix. Let's see. Dan says, thanks for putting a smile on my face. John Lind. Dave, hello, Dave. Dave says, we stream to Sunday streams and Facebook every service. There you go. There you go. Frank says, I respectfully disagree. I never had anyone or know anyone where people asked about your church. I think I'm missing something in that comment. Help me out with that one. Thomas Hargis. Thank you, Thomas. Glad to have you. I love using vMix to produce my Sunday teaching that I can chop up for micro content for social media. Oh, I like that. Took a few weeks to get all the bugs out, but I teach with a mouse in front of me to control vMix. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I have done that, and it's especially when the pastor says something kind of poignant in the service and in the sermon, and you can clip out 10 or 15 seconds of it, and it's neat to do that, and then link it back to the full version so that people can get a taste and then can go back and swallow the whole thing. Frank says the Great Commission is to go out and share your faith. I get that. I'm just not understanding your other comment about where you're disagreeing. I never had anyone or know anyone where people asked about your church. I have people ask about my church all the time. Marie says, why do you need to be careful when missionaries speak? I truly don't know. A lot of missionaries are in countries where Christianity is outlawed. And so they kind of have to be, teachers of English, teachers of math, whatever, and then forming a church kind of on the side illegally, and that they or church members could be in danger of persecution by the government or other groups if they were found out. So we've had folks that have come to speak as missionaries at our church that said, hey, look, it puts us and our church members in danger and the internet's everywhere, so something that's preached at Grace Anglican Church in Fairhope, Alabama could be watched anywhere in the world. Not that it's likely, but it's just not worth the risk. But good question, Marie. Otis says we have members away at college and military. They want the entire worship experience. I get that. However, during prayer, we put up a still image on on iMac and recording. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that is, people want to feel like, maybe even though they're far, far away, that it's a little touch of home. Yep. I get it. Alexandra says i7 or Zen for vMix. I'm an i7 guy. I like Intel for the CPU, and I like NVIDIA for the GPU. And that has been vMix's long-standing recommendation. Just recently, they have added an AMD Ryzen processor in the mix. Dave says, I stream our church, 1,200 miles from where I am, remotely to YouTube, Facebook, and our church site. There you go. Marie says, so they want to be unknown to governments that don't allow Christianity. Yes, they want to be in secret under the radar. Dave said, we've had missionaries ask not to stream because they might face persecution in their country. That's true, and that could be for sure. And whether it's, in our case, a U.S. citizen who has moved to a foreign country as a missionary, or somebody that's native to that country acting as a missionary that's come to the United States to raise support. Thomas says, I use 5 points, one for each day of the week. We upload them separately and SEO them for people to find. I think streaming is the most underutilized technology in the church. Ooh, good comment. I like that one. Yes. Frank says, exactly, Tom. Middle East, North Africa, India, China, Vietnam. We support missionaries in each, and we cannot put anything online with them. I get that. Marie says, I thought it was because they don't want the world to know they are visiting your church. Well, I don't think they want the world to know what they're saying about where they're coming from and what kind of help they need. Oh, Alexander said, not Zen. I meant Xeon, not Ryzen. Yeah, i7. Jaybird said, exactly, we've had that as well with missionaries. There you go. John says, Xeon if budget is not an issue. Yeah. I have failed. People get so excited about Xeon chips, and I failed to see the sense in it. There you go. Frank says, Tom, I need to talk to you about getting another PTZ optics cam and also having you do a custom PC for us, phone or email. Frank, why don't we do an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com, and then we can set up a time for a call, because I want to make sure that I have time to talk with you and make sure that we understand everything that you want to do. Communication is the key to success first time out of a box with those PCs. Sometimes I have people that say things and I interpret it one way and they mean it some way differently. So I want to make sure we get it right the first time. Yes. Yeah, the whole concept of missionaries and churches is interesting, just like the copyright and licensing issue for music. And churches are kind of sitting ducks in some ways. Ask me to explain that. Not today. Although, some churches are known to be very, very wealthy, and as a result, can be subjects of lawsuits. And that's, of course, that's what Facebook and YouTube are scared of, is that somebody's going to bring a class action lawsuit against them for not protecting copyrights or for allowing copyrights to be violated, allowing unlicensed people to use unlicensed materials. So that's all right. Dave says he's got to go. Great show. Thank you, Dave. Always appreciate your support. Alexandra says, what about the i9? Absolutely. Love it. Built a bunch of them. Frank says, how then can they call on the one they have not believed in? How can they believe in the one they have not heard? And how can they heard without somebody preaching to them? I agree. Doesn't mean it has to be all online, though. Doesn't mean it has to be all live streamed. And I think there's sometimes when it's better to be more intimate, one-on-one, one-on-two, than and more personal in that case than a live stream blast. And there are also, some people that, Frank, they're just operating in secret. And they need to stay in secret for their own protection and or for the protection of their church community. Not something we experience too much here in the States, but other places, yep, it's a big deal. John says, Xeon systems are more difficult to bog down. They generally run better under heavy loads. Oh, okay, I'll take your word for it. Jaybird said, but I would love to bring in missionaries with vMix call on his mission. Yes, I think that's great, and that would be a great way, and something like that I could see work probably not so much as a live stream, but more as an iMag, where if you've got iMag in your church, with a projector or an LED wall or some giant TVs or something like that, it stays in the church, but you're bringing in somebody that can then speak to the church. I had an opportunity to make some presentations at a church conference, and they were actually holding a portion of the conference. It was a bunch of workshops. And the workshop on live streaming was held in the sanctuary. And they brought me in as a guest presenter on a big screen TV in the sanctuary through vMix call. And they put a webcam on top of the monitor of the giant TV and fed that webcam back to me so that I could see people and they could see me. And so they'd raise their question and I'd say, okay, second row blue jacket, what's your question? And it was as if I was there. It was really effective, I thought, and it was great to have that two-way communication. But it wasn't. I mean, mine wouldn't have mattered, but for missionaries, it wouldn't have been necessarily appropriate to live stream it. But vMix call would definitely work great in that situation. John said, all else similar, I'd go for the Xeon if I can. However, his next system will likely be an i9. So what you recommend and what you use might be two different things. What is the best processor to switch 10 NDI sources? And Jan says definitely something with 10 cores. Otis says, show of hands, how many stream the entire service? Not me. Not me. I think, who was it? Was it Frank that said that earlier, looking back through? Or was it Thomas? I'll go back to a previous page here. Let's see. It was, oh, no, sorry. It may have been Frank. I don't see that comment now. Sorry about that. Frank says, should I have my PTZ Optics cam set to 1080p or 1080p 60 or 30? I don't see a tremendous benefit in a church situation of doing 60 frames a second. And so it's half the amount of data, half the amount of processing, half the amount of bandwidth required to stream to do 30 frames a second. I think, I would say it's probably more important to use a higher bit rate than it is a higher frame rate. So 1080p 30 at 6 megabits per second would definitely look better, I think, than 1080p 60 at 6 megabits per second. But it, testing it would show for sure. All right, Dan's got to go. Goodbye, Dan. All right, Thomas says the only reason to stream the whole service is if people want it. well, that's a good answer. A vast majority of people don't want the music or any other portion. Most people want the content for teaching, and that is more SEO friendly. Good comment. Frank says, sermon only to Facebook and YouTube with whole service to Sunday streams. That Frank was the one that had that comment. There you go. Thomas says, I've been working with some folks in LA, that's probably Los Angeles, not Lower Alabama, regarding this stuff. The church is the largest output of content that no one asked for. Oh, maybe. Although I think commercials might come a close second. Thomas says, I've been working, Andres said, so 1 core per NDI stream. Probably NDI source, I think is what Jan was referring to. There we go. All right, guys. Well, good discussion. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate everybody's kind of, it's a little risky sometimes to type your thoughts and to share them with everybody else. I get that, and I appreciate you doing that. If you've got any other thoughts on live streaming, specifically churches and methods of leveraging YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I'd love to hear about them, and I would love to share them. If you haven't already, we'd love to welcome you into our Streaming Idiots group, on Facebook. And of course, you're welcome to like our Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on Facebook. We are going to peel out of here now, and because we got a ton of emails to reply to. Frank says, thank you for all you do. Well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I enjoy this for sure. Jan says, you can find refurbished high-end brand name Xenix workstations on eBay for reasonable prices. I have an 8-year-old HP dual Xeon 6 core that does 8 times 1080p 50 and 4x replay. Well, there you go. For pennies on the dollar. Do you still have it in a desktop case, or have you rebuilt it into a case that's a little easier to transport? Maybe something in a server rack or something like that. Or is it a server? Thomas says, I'll make a tutorial video next week for you to see. All right, cool. That sounds like some of the stuff Dennis Washington was working on a while back. Dennis is here in Alabama and was working with a church in the Birmingham, Alabama area, basically making clips and posting them different days of the week with a specific goal of increasing the Sunday morning attendance. So he was doing a lot of social media and being very conscious of SEO. So, yeah, there we go. All right, folks, I'm going to let the stream run out with a little music so I don't cut you right off. Otis, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. Always love having you guys here. It's a treat for me. Let me tell you, this is a treat. So I will catch up with you next week. Remember, Tim will be here next week. And so you'll want to come with all your questions about vMix 23. And, yeah. So we'll see you later. Have a great rest of the week. Bye now.